Hey team, I'm here with the new Mekede Dudu7 head unit. This is the 13-inch model. This is their latest and greatest head unit. Now, it did launch here in North America at the end of 2024. However, much like Tesla, they have released a lot of firmware updates. And what's nice about Mekede, unlike Joing, is that their firmware updates are over the air. So as long as you've got data, either Wi-Fi or if you do a hotspot through your cell phone and you connect that Wi-Fi hotspot onto the Mekede, or if you put in a 4G SIM card, either way, as long as you're getting data to the head unit, you can get the OTA updates. So that's nice. There's no more fumbling around with a USB stick like you had to do with the Joing, and then making sure that you've got your the zip file in the right area and having to format that USB stick. This video is just a simple, quick introduction going through the initial setup of the Mekede Dudu7. And I've got a link down in the description of where I got mine from on Amazon. If you do decide to get yours on Amazon, at least on Amazon, you have options whenever you add it to your cart. It's going to ask you, do you want some accessories? For example, I included a 360-degree camera chip inside the head unit, and then I also purchased the 360-degree cameras themselves. It's 4 cameras, along with some accessories for those cameras. And that's going to allow me to not only have that bird's eye view, but it's also going to give me Tesla recording-like features. So if you guys have been with this channel and have seen my Joing review, then you know that the Joing has what they call AR cameras. I don't know why they call them AR cameras. I talk about that in that video. But it's essentially a front camera and a rear camera that allows you to put your vehicle in reverse, and it's a typical reverse camera. Or if you're coming up to a wall, you can see the front camera and you can make sure you're not too close to that wall. But they take it a step further and they allow you to record what those cameras see. And with the Joing, it was like a 720p type of HD recording, so it wasn't the highest quality. I'm curious to see if this is going to do the same thing as far as quality is concerned. I do know that just like a Tesla, it will record all 4 cameras, not to a micro SD card like the Joing does, but instead it records it straight to the head unit's 256 gigs of storage. At least mine has 256 gigs of storage. You can option it out for less, like 128. You can option it out to 512 gigs of storage. I want to reiterate, this video is just a quick introduction. I want it to be an introduction to where you guys can ask questions so that I can hit these questions when I go through the settings and the features in the next video, not this one. Yeah, back to the 360-degree camera system. It's going to allow you to record all 4 cameras at the same time. And the Joing had something similar, yeah, but I'm hoping that the cameras on here are going to be more like a 1080p HD rather than the 720p HD recording function from the Joing. So yeah, that being said, let's take a quick initial setup introduction. I'm going to throw you guys through the initial setup, what you'll see when you first boot it up. And then in a later video, I'll go through the settings and the features and hopefully answer any questions you guys have. You guys just leave those in the comments down below. There will be links in the description of where you can get this, not just from Amazon, but also where you can get it from AliExpress, I think maybe eBay. And then I'll also send links to Mekede's own website as well. All right, guys, jump in. Hey team, so this is the initial setup screen for the Dudu7. That's actually a really good wiki that they've created. So I recommend scanning that just to get a little bit familiar before you do your install. I know that it mentioned putting the GPS near the A-pillar. Probably won't do that. I've got a plastic speaker roll bar on my Jeep Wrangler. Of course, you guys watching it have different vehicles, but I don't recommend putting the GPS on anything that is metal. So for me, I'm going to end up putting it between, like in the center of my B pillar, because there's a roll bar that's made out of plastic and it's got my speakers inside there. It holds the speakers. I'll show you guys while we're waiting for this thing to reset. So this guy here, that's plastic. So I'll put the GPS up there. Going through the reboot sequence. So this is the screen. What you're hearing right now, you can hear the fan turning on. But this is the initial screen of what it's going to look like This is their home launcher. I'm looking forward to using Nova launcher, but I think a lot of you will actually like this home screen, the way that it's set up. And you can change this into different layouts. You can move things around, of course. So let's take a deep dive. We'll go into every single setting, every single feature. And earlier, you guys noticed that it gave you the option between a 360 camera or not a 360 camera. I've got the 360 camera chip in my head unit. They don't put it in every single one of the head units. And then I've also got the 360 camera system. So I'll run through that in a separate video. But for now, the link down in my description, at least on Amazon where I got mine from, it asks you, do you want the 360 camera? Do you want 12 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs of RAM? Yada, yada. I've got the 12 gigs of RAM and the 256 gigs of storage. You can get up to 512 gigs of storage. I didn't see myself using all that. So something that I failed to mention is that this particular Dudu7 from Mekede does not have any physical buttons. Now, that's a preference for me because I have a CAN bus system that communicates with my vehicle's CAN bus. Or I should say I have a CAN bus decoder that communicates with my vehicle's CAN bus, and that allows me to control everything that I need to control through either my voice, like saying, hey Google commands, stuff like that, or through my steering wheel, volume up, volume down, mute, next track, yada, yada. So because I can control everything through my steering wheel, and because I prefer a clean screen with minimalism, no buttons, yada, yada. So that's why I chose this. You guys might like physical buttons. I can't speak on that. I digress. But I do want to touch on these device connections. These are accessories that Mekede sells. The OBD, you guys understand that that's a Bluetooth OBD dongle. It allows you to connect to your OBD2 port on your vehicle, and then you can, use commands and stuff like that. Those of you that have Jeep Wranglers, like myself, you can change a whole bunch of different factory settings through an app called JScan. I am the founder and the creator of the JScan Facebook group, and it can go into all sorts of different things. Those of you that have other vehicles, like I used to have a BMW, there's an app with an OBD2 dongle that allows you to do all sorts of different parameters and changes on the BMW. I would imagine other manufacturers have similar things. I know Audi has their VAG something or other. I forget what it's called. But that's what the OBD thing is for. The SWC, for those of you that don't have steering wheel buttons, or for those of you like me that want some other options that the steering wheel can't particularly do. There's 5 buttons on here, but those 5 buttons can be long pressed. So you have 10 different commands or 10 different buttons, because short press and long press, that you can hit that will launch certain things on the Mekede. So if you want like a mute button and you don't have a mute button on your steering wheel like I do, then your mute button could be on there. And what you can't tell is behind here is a rubber strap, kind of like a watch, for example. Those watches that have rubber straps that you can just fit on around your wrist, that has a rubber strap that you could fit, say, around your steering wheel or someplace else in the vehicle. The TPMS is self-explanatory for those of you that don't have a TPMS system on your vehicle. You can put those TPMS sensors inside your tires, and it's going to tell you how much tire pressure that you've got. The temp and pH, that's just simply a Bluetooth dongle that communicates with the Mekede to let you know what the temperature is inside your vehicle, what the humidity is inside your vehicle. I don't know, but this is an assumption. I don't know this for fact, so don't buy this on my assumption. But I think with the temperature and humidity, you might be able to have automatically air conditioning. And I don't mean cold air or hot air, it's just both, so you could automatically control the temperature in your vehicle. If it gets too hot, it might turn on the AC. If it gets too cold, it might turn on the heat. Perhaps. Other than that, I don't know why anybody would buy that. Because if it doesn't have that feature, I don't know why. So yeah, maybe do your own research on that. You've got a heads-up display for those of you that are into that. That's an option. And then the ambient lighting. That's kind of interesting. Mekede sells their own ambient lighting, but they've also worked with some other manufacturers. Trion's, Duoco strip. I've actually used Duoco strip before in the past for some LED strips that I have inside the house. And then you've got the Dudu atmosphere lights. That's essentially some LED strips that you can put inside here that can be controlled via Bluetooth to change the colors. You can have it program whenever you open a vehicle or whenever you open a door like that. The LED lights will automatically change colors inside the vehicle depending upon which door is opened, stuff like that. The ADAS recorder, so Mekede has a camera that they sell. I don't have mine installed right now. I'm putting in some new ones. That's going to be in a separate video. But they've got dash cameras. So not only would you have your 360-degree cameras if you guys decide to opt for that. I opted for it not only for the bird's eye view whenever I'm reversing or parking someplace, but I also opted for it because of security. Kind of like the Joing AR cameras. But they've got the Tesla recording. I talked about that earlier in the video. These are dash cams that sit up here. And since I'm kind of security conscious, I want as many cameras as possible. You guys might not feel that way, but that's just an introduction on some of the device, they call it device connections, but us in the United States, we call these accessories that you can get for your Mekede. Guys, leave your questions down below. I'm going to try to get to all of them.